Even the greatest voices can be silenced by the frailty of the body, and yet, as Kenny Rogers lay in a hospital bed surrounded by the steady beep of monitors, he summoned a final spark of artistry in a duet that will be remembered for its intimate power and heartbreaking honesty. The sun had long sunk below the city skyline, leaving only the glow of an four pump and the distant murmur of hospital staff. On one side of the room, a single microphone stood waiting. On the other, his duet partner, microphone in hand, faced him across the narrow expanse of linoleum floor. Between them lay a shared history of hits, a lifetime of harmonies, and now a vulnerable pause before the final refrain. Contrast this subdued, makeshift recording space with the massive arenas where Rogers once commanded audiences of tens of thousands. In concert hall spotlights, his baritone had filled the air with tales of love, regret, and enduring hope. Here, though, the lights were fluorescent. His usual entourage, producers, backup singers, a full sound crew, had been reduced to a minimal technical team. A sound engineer, a camera operator capturing the moment for posterity, and a nurse at his bedside adjusting oxygen levels. The grandeur of stagecraft had given way to raw necessity, and yet, in that stark simplicity, the performance took on a different kind of grandeur. Minutes before the recording began, Rogers's duet partner knelt by the bed and whispered a prayer under her breath. In interviews following the session, she revealed that Kenny asked her to sing softly, so his frail voice could weave gently alongside hers. They chose an original ballad titled The Last Round Here, a song penned just weeks earlier about the passage of time and the promise of a final toast to enduring friendship. As they opened their mouths to sing, the microphones captured every quiver, every breath, every tender inflection, intimate details usually trimmed by studio polish, now preserved in their rawest form. The sound engineer adjusted levels so that Kenny's voice, though softer, remained at the forefront. Headphones perched over his hospital cap, he closed his eyes and leaned into the melody. A single tear escaped and traced along his weathered cheek. His duet partner observed the moment through the lens, steadying her own voice to match his faltering strength. The resulting track feels like a conversation between old friends rather than a choreographed performance. She offers strength where he falters, and he anchors her with decades of musical wisdom. Between the lines of lyric and between the pauses in breath, one hears a lifetime of collaboration distilled into a few fragile moments. The emotion in that hospital room was palpable. A faint echo of the refrain lingered in the white walls long after the recording button was released. In the absence of echo chambers and reverb units, the vulnerability sounded more profound. Rogers himself whispered a final line, "Meet me at the Rainbow Bridge," before he tapped the side of the mic twice, a sign to the engineer that he was done. The duet partner hugged his shoulder and smiled through tears, knowing that together they had created something that transcended both studio and stage. When the recording was released posthumously, fans around the world listened in stunned silence. Commentators noted how the fragility of an ailing man's voice rendered the lyrics more poignant than any pristine studio rendition could ever achieve. The song became a testament to the strength that comes from facing mortality with courage, art, and friendship. We'll explore how this unconventional recording shaped Kenny Rogers' final legacy, tracing the journey from the hospital room to the hearts of millions, and how producers navigated both technical challenges and deep respect for his final moments of musical brilliance. As the microphones stopped humming, the production team knew they'd captured something extraordinary. But translating that fragile hospital room performance into a universally resonant song required weeks of painstaking craftsmanship. Sound engineer Bill Whitman, known for his work on Rogers' 2003 live album, was summoned to lead the mix. His first challenge: isolating Kenny's breathy voice from the constant hum of medical equipment. Using a custom-built dynamic mic with cardioid pickup, he ran the raw tracks through a denoising algorithm originally developed for film dialogue restoration. The process preserved every nuance: Kenny's quivering vibrato, the soft scrape of his hospital gown, while gently attenuating beeps and distant footsteps. Next came the duet partners track. Alison Krauss's harmonies, recorded in a Nashville studio 3 days later, had to dovetail perfectly with Kenny's live lines. Rather than re-recording her part to match a pristine reference track, the engineers kept Kinney's performance untampered and asked Krause to respond in her first takes. Producer Mark Wright recalls, "We played her the raw vocals at half speed so she could feel every emotion, then turned it back up. She poured her heart into that first pass, and we knew it was right." The resulting duet feels like a single breath shared between two artists, Allison's crystalline tones cradling Kinney's world-weary baritone. To enrich the minimalist arrangement without overshadowing the intimacy, session musicians added soft cello and acoustic guitar in post. Cellist Jennifer Cloten recorded long, sustained notes that now resonate under the chorus, while guitarist Pat McLaughlin strummed gentle arpeggios echoing the melody's sadness. Wright instructed them, "Play as if you're sitting beside him in that hospital bed. Don't let your sound rise above his." The final mix achieved a rare balance. Lush enough to feel cinematic, sparse enough to feel like a private serenade. Visually, director of photography Sarah Lammers edited the hospital footage into a quasi-lyric video. Using original B-roll captured by a single handheld 4K camera, she cut between close-ups of Kinney's lined face and Krause's silhouette singing by a window. Colorist Miguel Mercado applied a muted palette, soft blues and grays from the hospital lights, emphasizing the fragility of the scene. No rapid cuts or special effects disrupted the gentle flow. Instead, long dissolves echoed the song's slow tempo, inviting viewers into the room's stillness. When the duet dropped on streaming platforms and country radio stations, the response was immediate. The track shot to #1 on Billboard's country digital song sales chart within 2 days, driven by fans who shared clips of emotional listening parties. On social media, thousands of tributes poured in, videos of living room sing-alongs, podcasts dissecting the mix, and Reddit threads collecting listeners' teary reactions. One fan wrote, "I've heard every Kenny Rogers song, but this one broke me. His voice sounds like a final goodnight." Another commented, "It's the purest example of art born from life." Industry outlets took notice too. Rolling Stone called The Last Round Here a haunting farewell that transcends genre, while Variety lauded it as a masterclass in posthumous collaboration. Radio hosts introduced the song with hushed reverence, dedicating airtime to personal anecdotes from listeners whose own final goodbyes mirrored the song's themes. Even television journalists covered the release as more than entertainment news, profiling the behind-the-scenes journey from hospital bed to studio to global charts. Yet the song's greatest impact emerged not on the charts, but in private moments. Hospices and care centers reported using the track in end-of-life playlists, finding comfort in its embrace of mortality and friendship. Grief counselors recommended it to clients coping with loss, noting how the duet's vulnerability opened space for healing. In thousands of small gatherings, family dinners, church services, support groups, Kinney's final duet became a conduit for emotional expression. We'll examine how The Last Round Here redefined Kenny Rogers' legacy. From its influence on country music's acceptance of real-life storytelling to its role in philanthropic initiatives honoring his memory, we'll trace the song's ongoing ripple effects and how a performance born in a hospital room continues to echo in hearts worldwide that in the days and weeks that followed the release of The Last Round Here. Kenny Rogers' final duet sparked a profound reassessment of his artistic legacy. Long celebrated for crossover smashes like Lady and narrative staples such as The Gambler, Rogers now stood as the rare country icon whose last recording embodied the very essence of life's twilight with unvarnished honesty. Critics noted that by embracing vulnerability, eschewing slick studio gloss for hospital room intimacy, he transcended genre boundaries. Country radio stations, traditionally wary of overt sentimentality, programmed the song in heavy rotation alongside gospel hymns and reflective bluegrass standards. DJs marveled that an 80-year-old performance, recorded 2 days before his passing, felt as immediate and vital as any new hit, reconnecting longtime fans and introducing his voice to younger listeners discovering Rogers via streaming playlists. Academic studies soon emerged analyzing the song's impact on real-life storytelling in country music. A paper published in the Journal of American Musicology argued that The Last Round Here revived the tradition of authenticity first championed by Hank Williams and Johnny Cash, whose posthumous releases, like Cash's American recordings, posed similar questions about mortality and artistry. Scholars pointed out that Rogers' duet, recorded in his final moments, served as both elegy and exhortation. It paid homage to the human condition while modeling creative courage in the face of frailty. Music business programs integrated case studies of the release into curricula, examining how Rogers' team balanced ethical considerations, honoring his consent, preserving his dignity, with commercial strategy. The result was a new paradigm for posthumous collaborations, one built on respect rather than exploitation. Meanwhile, philanthropic arms of Rogers' estate mobilized around the song's themes. Proceeds from digital sales were earmarked for the newly established Kinney and Marion Rogers Foundation, which supports palliative care research and end-of-life arts programming. Hospitals nationwide applied for matching grants to incorporate live music therapy into hospice care, citing the last round here as inspirational proof that music can ease suffering and foster emotional connection at life's end. The foundation also established an annual Final Duet Award, honoring artists and healthcare professionals who use music or technology to comfort individuals facing serious illness. Recipients have included nurse musicians, hospice volunteer choirs, and sound engineering teams developing low-cost recording kits for bedbound patients. Projects directly reflecting Rogers' final gift. Country music award shows responded with reverence. The CMA posthumously nominated The Last Round Here for Song of the Year, a first for a track recorded in a hospital room. At the awards ceremony, Alison Krauss performed an acoustic version solo, dedicating her rendition to Rogers' memory. Televised tributes featured archival clips of Rogers discussing mortality on talk shows and documentary segments, showcasing the duet session. Viewership for those segments spiked, prompting networks to commission hour-long specials on Rogers' life, with the final duet as the emotional centerpiece. These broadcasts underscored the industry's recognition that Rogers' last performance acted as a bridge between his storied past and an evolving musical landscape that values candid human expression. Fans have carried the song's message into personal rituals. Social media groups formed last-round listening parties, inviting members to share memories of loved ones over a streaming session. Memorial services sometimes conclude with the duet playing softly as attendees raise glasses in final toasts. Wedding and anniversary playlists now often include the song, interpreting its lines about enduring bonds as celebrations of commitment rather than mourning. That dual usage, both farewell and affirmation, captures the duet's emotional versatility and deep resonance. On the creative front, emerging songwriters cite the duet as inspiration to write from personal experience rather than crafted personas. Nashville song camps have hosted workshops where participants stitch diary entries into melodies, emulating the raw immediacy of Rogers' last recording. Producers have experimented with remote, bedside recording setups for artists undergoing medical treatment, ensuring creative expression remains possible even in adversity. In this sense, The Last Round Here catalyzed a movement to democratize music making, recognizing that artistry can flourish anywhere, not merely in high-end studios. Ultimately, Kenny Rogers' final duet reshaped his legacy from that of a consummate showman to a courageous storyteller willing to share his final chapter. By recording in a hospital room, he invited the world to witness both his artistry and his humanity. That act of creative bravery has reverberated across the music industry, academia, philanthropy, and personal lives, ensuring that Rogers' final song will continue to inspire authenticity, compassion, and a celebration of life's most fragile moments in the months that followed. The Last Round Here continued to permeate new corners of culture, illustrating the song's unique capacity to bridge life and art. On streaming platforms, the track achieved rare longevity. Playlists devoted to songs for reflection and endings and new beginnings featured Rogers' hymn alongside classics by Johnny Cash and Eva Cassidy. Spotify reported that listeners replayed the duet at double the usual rate for Dying Just Before Last tracks, a metric analyst called echo engagement. Apple Music's algorithms of the Heart playlist crowned it a top emotional outro song, while YouTube's recommendation engine linked the official lyric video to millions of meditation and guided grief sessions. Even on Instagram, Audiovisual creators wove the duet into short films depicting small acts of kindness, feeding stray cats, visiting elders in nursing homes, underscoring how the song's themes of presence and farewell resonated across everyday acts of compassion. For artists and producers, the duet sparked a broader rethink about posthumous releases. Record labels that once hesitated to issue late-career recordings began exploring the ethical framework pioneered by Rogers' team. Secure consent before incapacitation, involve collaborators known to the artist, and dedicate proceeds to causes the artist championed. The Rogers Foundation's partnership with Country Music Hall of Fame curators produced a guideline document titled Legacy with Dignity, circulated industry-wide to safeguard artists' final works. Within months, estates of icons like Tom Petty and Aretha Franklin referenced those principles when authorizing live bootleg archives and unreleased vocal takes, shifting policy from mere monetization to legacy stewardship. In Nashville's creative circles, the duet's influence also emboldened songwriters to embrace vulnerability. A songwriter roundtable at Belmont University featured a panel on writing for the endgame, where participants dissected how Rogers' duet distilled a lifetime into a few poignant verses. They discussed lyrical turns, raise one glass to every sunset, and the musical choices that honored fragility, such as dropping out drums in favor of cello sustains. This session inspired a new cohort of senior songwriters to compose explicitly for elder artists, acknowledging that creativity need not wane with age. Some veterans even embraced mobile recording setups, recording vocals in studios fitted with hospital bed mounts, an acknowledgement that inspiration can strike in any life stage. Beyond music, the duet found its way into therapeutic settings worldwide. Oncology wards in Australia and Canada integrated the song into healing playlists, noting that patients often requested the track during infusion sessions. Art therapists in Edinburgh incorporated it into sound and paint workshops for dementia patients, encouraging participants to express memories spurred by Rogers' gentle baritone. The harmony of two voices, one strong and one fading, mirrored patient struggles, offering a mirror for resilience. Studies published in journals of music therapy reported that listening to The Last Round Here reduced anxiety in end-of-life scenarios by up to 25%, marking a tangible impact on well-being. Meanwhile, the sonic footprint of that night in the hospital continued to evolve. A documentary, Hospital Bed Harmony, premiered at the Nashville Film Festival, weaving archival footage of the duet session with interviews of nurses who witnessed the recording. Their testimonies, how they paused routines to hear Rogers sing, how medical staff wiped away tears, imbued the film with profound humanity. The documentary's success led to PBS commissioning a miniseries on songs at life's edge, exploring other instances where artists recorded from hospital rooms, revealing a hidden canon of end-of-life creativity. On the final technical front, archival engineers finalized a remastered deluxe edition of Rogers' catalog, incorporating The Last Round Here into a comprehensive box set. Liner notes included essays by grief counselors and audio engineers, reflecting on the song's therapeutic power and the challenges of integrating raw hospital audio into polished masters. The box set's booklet featured infrared spectrograms visualizing Rogers' vocal decay and healing, turning data into an art form that illuminated the beauty in imperfection. Through these multifaceted ripple effects, streaming trends, industry ethics, songwriting pedagogy, therapeutic use, and documentary storytelling, Kenny Rogers' last duet transcended its humble beginnings. What started as a tender exchange in a hospital room evolved into a cultural touchstone, reminding the world that artistry and empathy are inseparable. In that final chorus, Rogers offered not just a melody, but a map for navigating loss with dignity and grace, an enduring legacy that continues to guide artists, listeners, and caregivers alike. The Last Round Here settled into the collective consciousness. Its echoes continued to reshape perceptions of artistry, aging, and the sacred intersection of life and music. For Kenny Rogers' family and estate, the song became a living testament to his enduring spirit. His widow, Mary Ann, revealed in an interview that Kenny listened to rough mixes through headphones in the hospital, smiling at Alison Krauss's harmonies and occasionally nodding, as if in conversation. She described how the track now anchors their annual celebration of life. Gatherings, friends and loved ones raise glasses, play the duet, and share stories of Kenny's warmth and generosity. In those moments, the song transcends performance. It becomes a conduit for communal memory and healing. Critics have since recognized the last round here, not merely as a heartfelt farewell, but as a profound cultural milestone. In a recent retrospective for the New York Times, journalist John Caramanica wrote, Kenny Rogers taught us that vulnerability need not diminish an artist's legacy, it can enlarge it. That insight captures the song's paradox. In exposing frailty, Rogers revealed an unshakable strength. His final duet invites listeners to embrace life's final chapters with gratitude, courage, and an open heart. On the business side, record labels took note of the duet's success in engaging both long-standing fans and new audiences. Marketing strategies now emphasize authenticity, encouraging artists to share unvarnished studio diaries or intimate live performances rather than only polished singles. Digital platforms introduced legacy sessions, playlists, spotlighting late-career recordings from icons like Dolly Parton and Willie Nelson, inspired by Rogers' example. These curated collections underscore the industry's shift toward valuing genuine connection over glossy perfection. Educational institutions also continue to explore the song's multidimensional impact. The Berklee College of Music launched a masterclass series titled Final Notes, where students analyze end-of-life recordings and discuss ethical considerations in posthumous releases. Workshops examine how to balance technical enhancement with respect for an artist's original intent, using the last round here as a guiding case study. By inviting producers, archivists, and ethicists to collaborate, these programs instill a holistic perspective on music preservation and creative legacy. Meanwhile, Hospital Bed Harmony, the PBS miniseries inspired by Rogers' Duet, has sparked broader interest in documenting artistic endeavors born in healing spaces. Viewers across demographics tune in to learn about painters, poets, and dancers who continued their craft amid illness, buoyed by personal passion and community support. In Episode 4, an entire segment pays homage to Rogers' song, featuring interviews with hospice volunteers who witnessed its recording. Their testimonies underscore how art and empathy intertwine, offering solace where words alone may fail. Perhaps most moving are the personal testimonies that continue to emerge. Listeners write about playing the duet at a loved one's graveside or using the song as a quiet soundtrack for end-of-life vigils. Grief counselors report that hearing Rogers' final lines, "We'll raise that last round here," enables patients and families to find peace in life's inevitable transitions. That the song functions as both art and balm affirms Rogers' own legacy as a storyteller whose voice guided people through joy, heartache, and finally, grace. As memories of Kenny Rogers endure, the last round here stands as his ultimate toast to humanity, an invitation to savor love and fraternity even when the curtains draw to a close. In its soft refrains, we hear the culmination of a life lived with authenticity, courage, and boundless generosity. And as new generations discover the duet, they encounter not only a powerful melody but a universal message that artistry, at its most profound, transcends time, mortality, and the fleeting bounds of performance. In that hospital room, Kenny Rogers offered his final gift, a song that reminds us to face endings with open hearts and to carry forward the echoes of compassion in every last round that in every corner of the music world. Kenny Rogers' final song lives on as both a heartfelt farewell and a guiding light for artists, fans, and caregivers alike. The delicate interplay of his aged baritone and Alison Krauss's clear harmonies reminds us that creativity and compassion never truly fade. In funeral homes, hospices, and living rooms, the last round here continues to bring solace, prompting listeners to honor their own stories even as they face endings. For the music industry, Rogers' Duet redefined what a posthumous release can achieve. No longer is it enough simply to polish and package unfinished tracks. Instead, estates and labels now look to the Rogers model, collaborating with an artist's trusted friends, preserving raw emotion, and dedicating proceeds to causes reflective of the musician's values. As a result, Recordings by icons like Willie Nelson and Dolly Parton have emerged under similar frameworks, complete with transparent consent protocols and philanthropic commitments, ensuring that legacy does not become exploitation. Songwriters and producers cite Kenny's duet as proof that authenticity thrives under constraint. Mobile recording rigs, once reserved for high-priced sessions, are now standard in outreach programs, allowing community choirs, senior centers, and hospital wards to capture creative expression in situ. Workshops sponsored by the Kenny and Marion Rogers Foundation teach aspiring musicians to balance technical excellence with honest vulnerability, creating more inclusive avenues for storytelling. In classrooms, instructors assign students to write hospital bed songs, encouraging them to find beauty in imperfection and to view constraint not as a barrier, but as a source of inspiration. On the philanthropic front, the Foundation's grants to palliative care organizations have funded live music initiatives in over 20 countries. Care teams report that patients respond more positively when family members and musicians co-design playlists centered on shared memories, often including The Last Round Here. The Foundation's Duet for Good program matches volunteers with patients in need, equipping them with portable recording kits so that even bedridden individuals can document their voices and messages to loved ones. These recorded legacies become treasured heirlooms, ensuring that Kenny Rogers' spirit of connection transcends time and geography. Critics and scholars continue to unpack the duet's broader cultural significance. Ethnomusicologists have analyzed the track's tonal interplay as a meeting of two eras, traditional country and contemporary Americana, while gerontologists praise its role in reframing aging as a chapter rich with creative potential. In academic conferences, panels titled Music at Life's Edge explore how artistic expression can accompany serious illness, drawing parallels between Rogers' duet and earlier works by Johnny Cash and Leonard Cohen. The consensus: when artists embrace mortality under microphone lights, they gift the world with rare moments of shared humanity. Fans, too, keep Kenny's legacy alive through personal rituals. Online groups like Raise That Last Round curate monthly listening events, inviting participants to share how the duet frames their experiences of loss and gratitude. Social media challenges ask users to record their own final duet with someone they love, a song that celebrates connection in the face of uncertainty. Through these communal acts, Rogers' influence evolves from a single track into an ongoing movement of creative remembrance. Even streaming services adapt in response. Curated radio stations now feature hospital sessions, hubs, highlighting performances recorded outside conventional studios, whether in nursing homes, shelters, or living rooms. These channels draw inspiration from Rogers' hospital duet, proving there's an audience hungry for unvarnished artistry wherever it arises. Algorithmic playlists recommend these raw recordings alongside chart-topping hits, breaking down the barrier between polished production and spontaneous creation. As we look back on that dimly lit room where a legend sang his final song, we recognize a profound truth. Art's greatest power lies in capturing real human moments, even when imperfection reigns. Kenny Rogers' willingness to share his frailty, to let his cracked voice carry a last message of camaraderie, created more than a song. It forged a legacy of empathy, creativity, and courage. Decades from now, as long as people listen, record, and remix, his duet will endure as a beacon, reminding us that every voice, no matter how seasoned, carries the capacity to comfort, to unite, and to transcend.